Okay, so yesterday you had a meta run for the solo GM. Today you're going to get a off-meta solo GM. So depending on how long you've been around on the channel, if you remember from last season, I done a solo GM with the colony. And I mentioned in that video at that time, this was last year, that they would buff colony. Bungie would buff colony and they would nerf heavy drum GLs. Well, that exactly happened. It happened. Bungie did exactly that. They buffed colony and they nerfed heavy drum GLs by 10%. Here's what the buff was, patch note, for colony, so that we can remind ourselves on what happened. It's been a while now since this has happened, but let's read it because it went under the radar. Detonation damage increased by 40%, positioning its damage per shot slightly above that of a legendary drum grenade GL. Insect robot spawn rates. Player kills spawns 1 robot. Minor enemies increase from 1 to 2 robots. Elite major enemies increase from 2 to 3 robots. Champions, miniboss, boss enemies increase from 5 to 6 robots. So there you go. That's what the buffs is for the colony. So let's read what it says and what it does. Serve the colony's auto load holster. That's all it means. So this gun comes with auto load holster. The catalyst gives it more reserves. And the main perk says this weapon grenades are insect robots that chase targets and explode close to them, consumes tougher combatants to create additional robots. A very, very interesting weapon indeed, for PvE at least. And yeah, we're doing a solo GM with colony again, and I said that I would, and this is basically me giving you that promise that I said that I would redo another colony run after the buff, and that's exactly what this is. Thoughts on the gun will be in the video itself. Let's talk about the GM that I chose. So I've ended up choosing, we can choose any, right? We went with Inside Terminus for now. There's many different GM runs, solo GMs I can do. There's many different builds I can do on all these GMs, all right? So you'll see a lot of different runs from me. This is just the GM that I picked for this particular run because it's a lockdown build. And that's what I was also wanting to run. So Inside Terminus, the better your lockdown build, the better the Inside Terminus runs, right? That's why we've chose it. Right, modifiers for Inside Terminus: Scorched Earth, enemies throw more grenades, Chaff radar is disabled, overcharged weapons, overcharged trace rifle, Arc Surge, Void Surge, which is the same for all the GMs this week. It's perfect for my build that it's Arc Surge and Void Surge, right? That's what gave me the idea to run Colony this week, see, because Void Surge is up. Void Threat is on, and Champions are barrier unstoppable for this. Right, now that you've had the information, now let's talk about the build itself. It's actually really fun build, this. We're using Storm Trance for the lower cooldown, Hail and Rift, Ball Lightning, Pulse Grenade, Arc Soul, Ionic Sentry, the Arc Turret that is. We're using Spark of Vaults. It's actually rather nice and gives you plus 10 free recuv. Spark of Frequency for ball charges, Resistance for resistance, Spark of Ions for Ionic Traces. Because I'm not using Electrostatic Mind. You don't need to run Electrostatic Mind. If you want to run Arc Soul with the Arc Turret, you are allowed to do that. What I will tell you is, yes, Electrostatic Mind is a class fragment, but when you're on a Storm Trance, you're getting enough super energy anyways. You're getting enough ability energy with Crown of Tempest anyways. So I don't need no more ability energy. In actual fact, what I want is my Rift to be stronger. And my Rift will be stronger when I use Arc Soul, because I'm getting a soul with my Rift. Get it? Better on lockdown. Here is the distinction with Stormcaller specifically. If you are running Electrostatic Mind, that's probably because you're using Chaos Reach. Because Chaos Reach needs more ability energy, etc. Yeah? With Geomags, you run this. But we're not on that class, are we? I've just thought I would explain it to you that Arc Soul hits that hard in endgame that even though, despite how good Electrostatic Mind is, I still value Arc Soul to be on par with this fragment. That's how good Arc Soul is. Right? I hope you understand it. Really good, honestly. But I could have run Electrostatic. I know that someone's going to argue with me and say I should have run Electrostatic. Look, the run was absolutely fine. Either way. Weapons wise, so remember it's barrier and unstop, so we've got tenacious to deal with both barrier and unstop with chill clip, and we're using an arc primary because we want to double down on arc turrets. Corrasion is a fantastic pulse rifle. Heavy burst pulse rifles are very good in PvE. You'll see how good it is in the run. Eddy, current and volt shot. And the build, like I said, we're using Crown of Tempests for increased ability energy on arc ability kills or jolt kills, which that will include my Corrasion with Volt Shot because it jolt targets. Mods are on screen. I'm not going through all of it. It's a bog standard build in terms of armor charges, utility kickstart, procs ward, solar resist is nice for this, arc surge, no void resist is needed. Yeah, that's literally what we was using for this setup. Okay, colony loyalists, stand up and be alert. He's a colony solo GM. Okay, so with Inside Terminus, you can skip the initial champs. I'm not going to, because I need to showcase my weapons and my setup to you. But you can actually skip the first 2 barriers and all these ads if you sparrow through here quick enough. I'm not bothered either way. It takes a minute to clear them anyways. But yeah, if you do sparrow through quick enough, these enemies will not spawn up, but you can still get plat rank. But remember, I'm not skipping them. Okay, so I'm going to push up, and this Minotaur has pushed me. We're just trying to get through this bit a little bit quicker, just because they've spawned in. Look at the amount of damage there we're doing there with bolt charges. We've got a pummel Minotaur here. That's fine, we'll get rid of him. I'm trying to see damage for colony, which you're going to see plenty of that. I do spam the weapon, you'll see it. I absolutely do spam it, so it's not me just not using it. So there we go. Bit of damage. So there's 2 different ways to damage with colony, alright? There's direct damage, right? Or there is use a robot on the floor to go and search out a target. Sometimes the robots don't track as you would hope, and sometimes they really do track well, alright? So you're going to see me not always use it as you would think. Sometimes I'll do impact damage like this, like you can see here. Some of the shots were missing. That was weird on that champ. But yeah, this is an off-meta run, remember that, so don't take it too seriously, because I gave you a meta run yesterday, and I do that for resets, you know. He's a meta run. That was Lake of Shadows. Obviously, we're doing Inside Terminus here. But I can pick whatever GM I want, though, can't I? Because of the selector node. So I'm going to take advantage of that. Not that we're getting any gain from it. It's just a change of scenery, and I like that. I quite like Inside Terminus. There's a couple other GMs I really like as well. We're using the super to skip. We may as well skip. We get a Bane. We use a bit of colony down that tunnel. Look at that. And now look at what we've did here. Because we used a Roman super, that is, to skip, we can actually skip the entire room, but just clear the barrier from the hill and then move on. We'll get a finisher kill with Dreadful Finisher, because the artifact mod. So you can get free special ammo, and that is actually really critical to the run, because Tenacious is doing all my barrier breaking needs, because I've got my arc primary that does not deal with champs, and Knife does the heavy. But the arc primary cooks in this. It really does a good job with the vault shot and just hitting so hard. We get a blinding turret up, and we're going to defend the plate. So you want to get a blinding turret up first, and then focus on trying to get another turret back, which we've just got. Unstops spawn up. We're not going to use super though. Don't need to. We want super for the next room. So we want it as we go to the next room. We'll get a stun. Colony Loyalists damage. Look at that. I think the unstop disintegrated, and then some of the robots hit the second unstop to get that last bit of chunk of damage. I think that's what happened there. You'll see at times it does more damage than other times. Again, it's the robots. So this buff's nice, where you get a bunch of robots spawn. If you get a kill on a champ with colony, you'll get a bunch of robots that spawn to then do damage to the next target. And whenever that happens, and it lines up for you, it does actually rather substantial amount of damage. But that doesn't always happen. If you're just up against one single champ, then it's not going to do exactly that. But if you're up against multiple champs, it will. There's a chance. Right, we're going to actor it down. We've sent the boss. Did you see what we did there? We damaged the boss at the back of the map. This then speeds up and skips a barrier champ. This will then skip a barrier champion, and it basically skips a barrier champion. You still get platinum rank, and you spawn in all the ads. We use a super here because we may as well. Barrier champ is still up. That's fine. My focus is ad clear with Storm Trance. Look at how long it lasts with Crown of Tempest. Storm Trance will last longer with this helmet. All right, it's really good, honestly. When you want just a low cooldown super and lockdown, this is the way to go sometimes. Sometimes it isn't Chaos Reach. Sometimes it isn't. Like, for example, with inside Terminus, it's better to have a Roman super on so you can defend plates easier, whereas Chaos Reach isn't really good for that. It's good for single target damage, yes, but not for capping plates. Bit of colony damage again. We want to get that champ finishable. We don't want to kill. I was finding myself to do 3 or 4 shots per champ with colony to get a champ finishable. That's in combination with a bit of Tina's damage, right? The gun holds 30 ammo, so if I'm using 4 to 5 shots per champ, it's probably above its ammo economy curve, as in it probably is a wasteful weapon ammo wise, but this is an entertainment run for YouTube, right? I'm obviously not exactly recommending that you use colony, but you can. And you can make it work in GMs. Of course you can. You can make anything work in GMs. But I'm just saying that it's probably slightly too wasteful, but we're not in a heavy GL meta now. We was, yeah, but now we've come out of that and we're in a fusion rifle meta. But if Breach and Clear was up right now, colony would actually be a bit of a pick. It'd be actually rather good. You know, it's actually doing sizable damage, you know, but it is also relying on the surge. So you got to remember that. This is with Void Surge. Without Void Surge, it would do even less. 25% less to be exact. And it would start to suffer. So if you're on a Void Surge GM and you want to mess around, you can definitely use Colony. Now look at this super, what it's doing for us. We get a Hypernova in mid. What I will tell you is, okay, I'm noticing a pattern with GMs, and certain GMs have a higher encounter rate of certain Bane types. So, what I will tell you is this. Inside Terminus has a high encounter rate for Meteor and Hypernova Banes. I think Bungie are individually balancing GMs with this randomized Bane thing, but it's not exactly randomized. I've seen a higher encounter rate of the Banes I've just told you. There's more Hypernovas in this one than generally. That might be a way of balancing it, because Inside Terminus is an easier GM than the rest, isn't it? Maybe Bungie knows this and they're putting more Hypernovas in the easier GMs, you see? Bit of a, you know, it's just something you think about. I've noticed a pattern with each one of them. Hypernet had a lot of Hypernovas in as well. A lot of drains, although Hypernet had all of them, I suppose. But yeah, I've noticed that in the Lightblade last season, there was a lot of shielded and healing Banes. That's what I noticed mostly. You know, so I'm seeing patterns. But definitely today, I can tell you, I've never had as many Hypernovas as I did in this one. It was quite crazy. They are meant to be totally random, the randomized Banes. They're meant to be just random, but I'm just saying I don't think it is entirely random. I think there's some patterns going on with it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's just an observation. Look at the round the corner colony loyalist damage. Round the corner, that. Telling you, it's doing half decent damage, that, to a champ. It's doing half decent. It's not too bad. It's not like what it used to be where it was unusable in PvE. It's not unusable. What I would say about the buff, the 40%, what was the buff? The 40%, maybe they should double that again to 80, and then we are there, as in people would use Colony in PvE. So it needs another 40% to send its power scaling above the charts so that people would use it, because that's the only way you're going to get people to use exotics like this, is to have them overbalanced for at least 2 months. Then people will use it for 2 months and then they can balance it appropriately later on. Yeah, that's what I think. If they want to go further with a colony buff in PvE, they want to give it the Queen Breaker treatment, it needs another 40% on top of what it's doing. Okay, and increase more robots. Double the rates even more. Have it 10 robots per champ kill. Then we are looking at something. Also, have it so that the robots follow you about if there's no ads, so that they can detonate like Fredlins. Have it like a Fredlin thing. Yeah? Have it so that it synergizes with Fredlins, I guess, somehow. That's just a couple of thoughts on how they can increase its potency in PvE. But nonetheless, it's a fun off-meta run by all means. Right, we're skipping those ads. If you want to skip those ads, you need Amplify buff. You need a speed booster to zoom past them. They might kill you if you haven't got that, right? Although they might not as well. Depends on your power level, really. Okay, so now we're on to the boss. 10 minutes. Look at how easy we have got through this. The pulse rifle has performed phenomenal. With its vault shot, really good. It's because it's basically a legendary version of Revision Zero. It's a heavy burst pulse rifle. Heavy burst pulse rifles are probably the best archetype for PvE in Destiny 2. Yeah, that and adaptives. Whereas your rapid fire pulse rifles, I've spoke about this at length. I would say 3-4 times over the last 2 years. Rapid fire frames are the worst frames in Destiny 2 for PvE. They don't hit hard enough. If you don't believe me, go check Aegis' video on archetypes, and he will explain that the rapid fire frames, whilst they do have some good redeeming factors in PvE, once you use a rapid fire frame pulse rifle on anything that's not a red bar, their damage falls off a cliff. And that is exactly why I don't like rapid fire frames, because I'm fighting champs on my own. I can't withstand a water rifle. If I use a rapid fire frame pulse, I can tell you, it's gonna make me rage about it. So I don't use rapid fire frames in PvE because they don't hit hard enough against orange bars. If they did, I would use them, but they don't. That's why the harder hitting pulse rifles are better in PvE. Revision Zero being the perfect example of it. Hits like a truck. You need weapons that hit harder because you're up against orange bars and yellow bars. Alright? So, we've got a super in mid. We keep getting our turret. Look at how long it's lasting. Look at the damage we're doing. By the way, I've got Limit Break on. The artifact mod Limit Break. So if I'm amplified, I get the buff. I think it's 35%. I read somewhere Limit Break's a 35% buff to supers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what it is. I've seen somebody testing it on Reddit and they said 35%. I haven't tested it. Maybe I should have done before the vid, but it is quite noticeable, right? And it's really good on Arc because you can easily get amplified, therefore you can easily get the Limit Break buff, the artifact mod. Yeah, right. Look at the damage that we've did, right? Bad turret there. We're going to slow down now because we're going to strategize now. When I say strategize, I mean strategize the ads. We want a room clean, full of... we want no ads up. We want me and the boss. But the boss is very weak to half HP. We do not want to send that boss until I am ready for cap. The hardest thing about Inside Terminus is capping the zones. Well, if you follow these tips, you're good. Alright, it's not hard at all. You can take risks, which might make it harder, yes, but if you follow the rules, then it's no problem. Right, all ads need to be taken care of. Get the boss to close to a half HP so that he is sendable. I think there's another ad spawn here. Let me see. I think I end up thinking that I'm good and I'm not. Using a bit of colony damage. Look at that little chunk there it's doing. 24k. I need to compare this to another heavy GL, don't I? But I probably will, but for now I just want to post the solo GM. Look at this colony loyalist damage from a range. Doing good ad clear. Plus we'll get a robot off that ad kill. Any red bar we kill, we get a robot that will seek out another target. Yeah, there was another ads wave and I didn't realise. So let's get rid of them. Good job I did not send the boss. This is critical that you do this to cap the hardest plate on this map, which is right hand side. There are 3 zones, right, mid, left. Right is the hardest cap. Get on the plate immediately, ASAP. Look, I'm capping the zone before the ads spawn in. This is critical. This will allow you to cap the plate solo very easy. But you got to follow the tips. Then it is easy. If you don't follow the tips, no, it won't be. Because the ads are all over the place. You'll get gladiators using colony damage to defend this damn Vanguard plate before the 5 front battle ends. We need to... Look, colony helped it. We capped the plate without super. That's so huge. Because that means I can use my super for the next plate. Now, after every plate cap, you will get dogs and gladiators. You want to probably get rid of the dogs and the gladiators, then cap your next plate. So there's 2 independent spawns going on. There's the Cabal and the Void Packs, which are separate from the dogs and the gladiators. Dogs and gladiators are not infinite. They spawn after every plate is capped. However, the Vex Cabal are infinite. The legendaries and the Void Backpacks. So, you want to clear out all the gladiators and the dogs before you cap a plate. But if you've got a super like this, I suppose it's fine. I'm doing that. Because of how long my Storm Trance lasts, I can cap the plate, look. So I go middle. Next is mid. Now there's a lot of different AI manipulation you can do, and I used to do it for Inside Terminus. But I didn't even need to do it because Inside Terminus is nowhere near as hard for me as it used to be. Not that I'm complaining about that, but I'm just saying it's a visual thing that it's like, wait, all these things I had to do for Inside, I don't even need to do anymore. Like you would drag the AI pattern of the ads to the right and then loop all the way to left to cap the left point. I don't even need to do that anymore. I just need to get my super, then I can cap the plate. I'm just saying that my routine has changed over the years with Inside Terminus as opposed to what it was like in 2019/2020. Because if you don't know, Inside Terminus was the first GM ever made. It was the first GM ever created. Okay? Oldest GM ever. So I'm recognizing that my routine, look, I'm doing the trick that I'm on about, the AI trick. Look, you get them over to right hand side, then you zoom over to left, and then you get more time to cap the zone. Although I haven't got my super. I should have found out a bit more super. We've got gladiators up, which I should really kill them before I cap the plate, but I'm not confident with the super, I'm fine. I have an arc turret. Get the arc turret down. We've even got a pulse grenade. We'll use that as well as a deterrent. It's a deterrent grenade. Look, it's stopping the ads from pushing the plate, even though the grenade didn't do any damage. Pop super, and then now we're just going to cap the zone. Pretty straightforward, easy enough. That's why we've got a lockdown super on. Chaos Reach would not have done nowhere near as good for us in this, because that's for single target damage. Although what I would say is it would speed up damage on the boss, definitely. A limit break Chaos Reach would do huge damage to this boss, and I could have absolutely done Chaos Reach. But I was like, you know what, I want to do lockdown. I want to, arc turret, a lot of arc turrets. I want Storm Trance, the best version of it, which is with Crown of Tempests. That's the best way to use Storm Trance if you want to build into it. And, trying to showcase Colony off as much as possible. And I have. Look at my ammo. Look at my ammo count. I have literally spammed the weapon. Yeah. So now we are looking to get rid of these gladiators. The plates have been capped. I'm looking to get my super. I'm looking to get rid of the dogs. When you're doing a legit run on this, which this is a legit run, but obviously it's an off-meta run, you want to be playing at the back of the map like this and prioritising the legionaries, because they need the hell out of you in this. Because of Scorched Earth, the mod, you will find that Cabal enemies, it's probably a double modifier for the ads. I don't know the exact percentage of Scorched Earth, the modifier called Scorched Earth, but I would probably estimate it's a double in effect. Legionaries are twice more likely to nade you, and those nades hurt. Even in today's sandbox, they actually quite hurt. Damn, Cabal nades have stood the test of time. They used to one-shot in the old GMs, and in nowadays GMs, 2 or 3 nades will just about kill you. And that happens. You will get netted 2 or 3 times by Cabal. You'll have seen a couple of times throughout this run that happens. But look at Arc Soul, what it's done for us in the run. With the Arc Turrets, we used Colony there just to get rid of the ads. And also do a little bit of damage to the boss. The Pulse Rifle done really good. I could have used Vantage Point, but I wanted to try out this instead. Vantage Point has technically a better perk called Jolting Feedback. And this Pulse Rifle has Volt Shot. Volt Shot's not quite as good as Jolting Feedback because single target damage is king in GMs, and you can proc Jolt off single target damage with Vantage Point easier than this weapon, but Vantage Point's really good. It's a heavy burst pulse. It's just hitting that so hard. Look at how hard it is. Look at how hard it's hitting against some of these ads. So you're proccing your Volt Shot rather quickly anyways. If there was overloads, I would have had to use Vantage Point over this. But because there's no overloads in this, I was like, well, you know what? I can use Corrasion. I'm happy. You know, there's no limit. I can use it. And I actually quite like it on Arc builds because I'm getting more turrets as a result. Remember, with a Stormcaller turret build, you need to make sure you've got either an arc weapon equipped or a kinetic weapon equipped that will give you the arc turrets, because arc turrets are got off kinetic weapons or arc weapons only. Strand and stasis weapons don't count. Look at the damage we're doing with the super. Collective damage, that is. Really good. Doing massive damage. We keep getting our turret in our super. We get 20 colony shots. So here's for the colony loyalists on the old solo GM. Look at this damage. I'm the best colony player in the game, look. That was a solo GM. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.